Hi everyone, today I'm gonna show you how to use Pingbacks and Postbacks with DataForSEO APIs. In addition to that, you'll find out how to use Postman to test our results. But first things first, let's head straight to the documentation page and download Postman examples. The file will be downloaded in the JSON format. After the download is complete, we can import examples into Postman. Just drag and drop over here. Then you'll see a set of functions of DataForSEO APIs with examples of how to set tasks and retrieve results. To set a task, you'd need to specify your username and password, which you can get from your account's dashboard. You can then try setting a task. In the top window of Postman, you'd have to specify your request, and in the bottom window you'd see the response. The task is being set, that's the assigned task ID. Now note that the task won't be completed immediately. If our system is loaded, it's gonna take up to 20 minutes. To find out whether the task was completed, you can call a certain function. It's called SERP tasks get. Once again, type in your username and password, and that's how you get a list of completed tasks. Right now the system isn't loaded at all, so it all was processed pretty fast. After that, we can take this task ID and get the results straight away. Therefore, if you set a lot of tasks, you'll need to call the SERP's task get function, which will provide you with a list of completed tasks to find out whether this or that task is completed. You'll also need to somehow extract the task ID and then use it to call the following function. It's not really convenient, and what's more, this list in this function is displaying the results only once. Meaning, if I click send one more time, all the tasks will be wiped out from the queue. Overall, all this isn't very easy, and that's why we introduced Pingbacks and Postbacks. What does it mean? Essentially, a pinback is the dispatch of the GET request to your server every time the task is completed. It's like a notification that the task has been actually completed. Postback is the post request containing the task results. That's to say, is what you get in SERP results get by using task ID. Now, how all this stuff works. I'll show you on the PHP example, but you can use any language you want. If you go to the documentation, you'll see the PHP examples. Let's download it. Now we're gonna need postback URL example and pinback URL example. Let's see what they actually look like. That's the postback URL example, and that's the pinback URL example. In the pinback, it represents how we handle the GET request. First, we are reading out the task ID and then the post ID, and then some parameter that you can specify yourself. And then all that gets saved to a file. Talking about postback, here we are reading out everything that comes into a script it comes into the JSON format, we decrypt everything, and once again all that gets saved to a file called postback results. Both of these files should be stored on your server. We've stored them in DataForSEO public scripts folder. Here we have our files. Alright, now when setting up a task, you'd need to add a line specifying the postback URL, for example. Let's start off with this one. Here we have the service address along with the file path. Here's the script postback example. Let's set a task. The task is set. After the result is completed, the address that you specified in the postback URL will receive the results of this task. That's just like we essentially, instead of you, under this task ID would collect the result and execute the post request by this address. So the task is complete. We go to our postback. Those are the results of these tasks that we saved in a file. Actually, you don't need to save it at all. Instead, you can process it, collect certain information from it, whatever. But the idea is that in the results variable, you'll have the result of the completed tasks. Pingback is a little bit more complicated. Here you can use your own additional variables. You can read more about the process of setting up tasks, pingbacks and postbacks here in our docs. We have variables such as $taskID and $postID, which we're gonna replace with real task IDs and post IDs from this task. The task ID is assigned by the system, whereas the post ID you'd have to type into this line. Now let's see how it works with our example. Once again, we store the file on your server and specify the path to it. DataForSEO script pinback example task ID equal $sign task ID. That's basically a GET request that'll be executed by this address. Here a set of variables outlined with ampersand, task ID, post ID and your parameter. The $sign task ID will be replaced with the actual task ID, the $post ID will be replaced by your post ID, the your parameter variable will be replaced by the parameter example. Now that's how you can get it into the script. In the results, task ID variable will get the task ID from the GET request, and the results post ID variable will get from the post ID from the request, and so on and so forth. All that will appear in results, and then it'll get saved in the text file. Let's set a task. The task with the following task ID should fly out to this script. Yeah, it should also be noted that when setting up tasks with pinbacks or postbacks, these tasks won't be added into the completed results queue. Hence, if I requested the queue, they won't actually show up here. They would show up only if we wouldn't send the pinback or postback and your server responded with an error. All these errors are displayed in your dashboard's interface. Here in the error section. So if that was the case, it would have appeared in the completed results queue, where you'd be able to collect it. So some time has passed, let's refresh it. We received the completed results pane. Let's download it. Then open it. And here we have it. Task ID, post ID and your parameter. Task ID, post ID and your parameter. That's the task. That's our data. Then again, you can do whatever you want with it. Usually the next step is to use this task ID to call the SERP tasks get function. But with the task ID of the already completed task. Therefore, you don't have to pull this function. You'll be able to collect results once the task is completed. Now we can collect requests results by this task ID. And here we have our results. How to check if your script will work properly and save you money. Well, maybe you'll want to check if your script is working as it's supposed to and if you've put the address properly. You can do that without setting an actual request to the API. Just copy this URL that you want the data to be forwarded to and try to test it in your browser. Let's mimic some task ID here and some post ID here. And then send it. It's a GET request, it's a pinback basically. Let's refresh and let's rewrite it. Here we have our second pinback with the task ID we've specified earlier and also the post ID. Likewise, you can try sending a postback to your postback URL, but you'd need to use Postman for that. Let's make a post request. Where we'd have to specify the postback URL to which you want the data to be sent over. Then you should post it here. We don't really need authorization here. And that data that you want to send, we can use this data for the checkup. Then click send. The status is 200, everything's alright. Let's head to the server with our postback URL. Some data was added to the file. Here's our second postback with the data we've sent through Postman. This way you can first test it out, and then, if everything works fine, set your task to the API. Thank you for watching this video. I hope it answered all the questions you had about using pingbacks and postbacks with DataForSEO APIs. You can find all the scripts I used in the description below this video. Have a productive day.